Hare Krishna, everyone. Good to see that Chowpatty is on fire. And you're relishing the Yuga Dharma of chanting the holy names. So I'm very happy to be here. Actually, I carry within my heart so many wonderful memories of my visits here. Of course, in the association of my very dearmost godbrother, His Holiness Indradyumna Swami, and all the wonderful devotees here, and your exquisitely most beautiful Radha and Krishna deities in the whole movement. They're so beautiful. Tomorrow's a special day. It's the opening of the new temple in Ayodhya. Everyone's Ram conscious, right? Jai Shri Ram. If we won't be there, we'll be there in spirit, in our heart, or we'll be watching, on the news, whatever. But I'm going to speak about Vrindavan today, because let us not forget, we are aspiring to be Brajabasis, actually, because that's the message that the most recent incarnation of the Lord gave us, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Madhavinda Puri, a little bit before him, introduced the understanding of Madhurya Ras, the loving sentiments of the residents of Vrindavan is the highest understanding of love of God. Krishna can become your friend, he can become your child, he can become your lover. This was not known so much before the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It was Aishvarya Bhav, which is fine, of course, but these very sweet pastimes of Krishna. Sometimes, but I spend a lot of time in Vrindavan because of the pandemic. The silver lining and the dark cloud for me. And many times I meet sadhus there, they say that, what is Vrindavan? It's the playground of God. The playground of God. The spiritual world, Vaikuntha, is the official kingdom of God. But Vrindavan is the playground of God. And that's our destination, and we have to keep our mind focused on the goal. Despite our busy, busy lives, we're very busy as bees, but our smaranam, our remembrance, our meditation is on Braj. And Radha and Krishna, Krishna Balaram, the gopis, the cowherd boys, the Kalpavriksha trees, the Giriraj, Govardhan Hill, Yamuna Devi, Gopishwara Mahadev. This is actually our culture, this is our yearning. This is our heartbeat. We're being trained in it. Gradually, of course, we can't jump too quickly, but gradually, we know who we are and we know where we're going. We're going back home, back to Godhead. So I'm on a tour of India, the central and southern part of India. I have a new book. I don't want to advertise it yet, but it's called The Sacred Forest of Vrindavan. It's a compilation of my lectures over a number of years about, well, as many of the Leela Stans, the holy places, as I could find in a 4-year search. Many of the personalities of Braj Leela and their characteristics, and, well, just so much, everything Braj connected. And I think I've given 450 lectures specifically on Vrindavan, and the first 20 have been compiled in a book. It's kind of like a Purkam, a guidebook. It's the western shore of the Jamuna. Next year we'll print the eastern shore, and then we'll go on and on. We're hoping for about 25 or 30 books, actually. So I brought the book. That's a whole other thing. But the point is, we're Brajabasis, and we want to keep our mind fixed there. So how do we keep our mind fixed? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Krishna Smaranam, by hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. So tomorrow's a special day, but it's tomorrow. So today we'll speak about Braj. And they've given me a really nice verse today from the 10th canto. 10th canto, chapter 13, text number 60. Let's go. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yatra Naisarga I don't have my glasses here. Duvarai Sahasam Nri Mrigadhaya Mitran Nivajitas Druta Rut. This is a tongue twister. Tashakadikam. I'll leave it at that. Yatra. Forgive me. Where? Naishaga. By nature. Durvara. Living in enmity. Saha asan. Live together. Nri. Human beings. Mriga adhaya. And animals. Mitrani. Friends. Eva. Like. Ajita. Of Lord Krishna. Avasha. Residents. Duruta. Gone away. Rut. Anger. Tarshaka adikam. Thirst, and so on. Translation. Vrindavan is the transcendental abode of the Lord, where there is no hunger, anger, or thirst. Though naturally inimical, both human beings and fierce animals live there together in transcendental friendship. Oh my gosh. Purport, the word vana means forest. We are afraid of the forest and do not wish to go there. But in Vrindavan, the forest animals are as good as demigods, for they have no envy. Even in this material world, in the forest, the animals live together, and when they go to drink water, they do not attack anyone. Envy develops because of sense gratification. But in Braj, there's no sense gratification. But the only aim is Krishna's satisfaction. Even in this material world, the animals in Vrindavan are not envious of the sadhus who live there. The sadhus keep cows and supply milk to the tigers, saying, "Come here and take a little milk." Thus envy and malice are unknown in Vrindavan. That is the difference between Vrindavan and the ordinary world. We are horrified to hear the name of Vana, the forest, but in Vrindavan there is no such horror. So, we've all heard for many times, and we know that Vrindavan, the topmost planet in the spiritual world, is our destination. Again, that was revealed to us by Madhavinda Puri and in full by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And again, it's described as the playground of God. And that transcendental abode, amazingly enough, exists beyond the Viraj River. The Viraj River is the river which divides the material world from the spiritual world. At the topmost of that spiritual world is Goloka. But interestingly enough, it also exists here in the material world. It's quite amazing. In the spiritual world, it's called Goloka. Jiva Goswami gives a nice definition, interesting, almost humorous definition of the word Goloka. Go means cow, and Loka means like the world. So Goloka is a planet of cows. The other day I was speaking with a Christian man and he was describing heaven. So he said, "What's your concept of heaven?" I said, "Goloka." He said, "Wow, can you tell me something? Like, what does it mean?" I said, The spiritual world is a planet of cows. He went, excuse me? But of course, cows are Krishna's favorite animal, Surabhi. Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmanya Hitaya Cha Jagaditaya Krishnaya Govind. Glorifying. What is dear to Krishna? The cows and the brahmanas. The brahmanas, because in the absence of the Lord, they're speaking transcendental knowledge to the general mass of people. Krishna comes to do that. It's one of his reasons for coming, to reestablish Dharma. So Brahmins, they're like the mouth of God. They're always speaking transcendental knowledge. They're very dear to Krishna because they're carrying on where he left off. But I think cows are even more dear to the Lord because in Goloka, Krishna spends most of his time with the cows and the boys, isn't it? He gets up in the morning, Mother Yasoda wakes him, she bathes him, she dresses him, and along with Balaram and the other cowherd boys, there's a big celebration breakfast there. And then they go to the edge of town, Braj, and then the whole village comes actually, because they're thinking to be separated from Krishna for even a moment is like 12 years or more. It's very painful. As much as you love someone, to that degree you feel separation from them when they leave. So the residents of Vrindavan, they love Krishna more than anyone's ever been loved before. And Krishna loves the Brajavasis more than anyone's ever been loved before. So there's a lot of crying going on when Krishna leaves every day. A lot of crying. Krishna's leaving to go to the pasturing ground. And he spends almost the whole day there. Comes back in the evening as the sun is set. Who's he with? With the cows. So cows are very dear to the Lord. So therefore we have the name Govinda, who's the protector of the cows. Nanda Maharaj, he has 900,000 cows in the Goshala at Nandagaon. Last year I was with a good friend of mine. He's the chief of the Zulu nation. You know the Zulus, the black African Zulu warriors, actually. There's 60 million Zulus in the Republic of South Africa. And I made acquaintance with some of them, and I was introduced to the king, and we bonded, me and the king. He said, "Can I do anything for you?" So in my romantic vision, I said, there's a ceremony. They can make you a Zulu warrior. So I said, "Can you make me a Zulu warrior?" He said, "Yes, but you have to earn it." So he said, "I want you, I like your food," he said. "If you can distribute food every day to all my people, I'll make you Zulu warrior." I said, "Okay, how many people?" 60 million. That's a big Food for Life program. Couldn't do it then, but I'm keeping an eye on it in the future. So we had some discussions about religion. He's a Christian. So he said, "What is your name for God?" And I said, "Well, God has many names, but his original name is Krishna." And I said, "What do you call God?" He said, "Akulankula. Akulankula." I said, "Oh, well, what does it mean, Akulankula?" He said, "All Zulus know God's name, Akulankula. It means he who owns the most cows." So I said, "Yeah, we're going to really bond in this relationship, So Goloka in the spiritual world, and when that spiritual world comes to the material world, it's called Gokula. Goloka and Gokula, very similar. It comes because Krishna comes, and Krishna doesn't come alone. I heard Prabhupada say in Detroit, Michigan in 1971, he was visiting us, he said, "You'll never see a picture of Krishna alone. If you do," he said, "it's bogus." Krishna is always surrounded by his devotees because The ultimate truth is love. Krishna is surrounded by his loving devotees. He can't be separated from them, and they can't be separated from him. It's all about love. Just like my dear godbrother, Glories of Swami, he said, what is this Krishna conscious movement? It's it's love masquerading as a philosophy. It's all about love. So Goloka and Gokula, when Krishna comes, he, like a king, when a king travels somewhere, does a king go alone? He takes his family, he takes his servants, his entourage, very often many helpers, and his army. He never goes alone. So when Krishna travels anywhere out of love, he takes the whole spiritual world with him, actually. And he's coming every day. How's he coming every day? Because in higher circles, scholarly circles, when we talk about time, time is calculated by the time of the devatas, because they're more important than us in the universal idea. They're like, who cares about the time of ants? Our time's more important, but more important to us is the demigods. So once a day, every day, in the life of Brahma, Krishna comes. Once in a day of Brahma, he comes. So every day he's coming. And he came just 5,000 years ago, and he brought Goloka with him to Gokul Vrindavan. So therefore our acharyas say, because he brings that spiritual kingdom with him, there's no difference between Goloka in the spiritual world and Gokula, which is only, a bus ride or a train ride or an airline ticket away for all of you who live here in Mumbai. You're so blessed. Krishna chose out of this entire universe with millions upon billions of planets, he chose the planet Earth to come to. And that has been replicated not far from here. You're so blessed to be living so closely to Vrindavan. Whenever you have time, you should go to Braj. Like Prabhupada said one time, if you've got time, chant Hare Krishna. So if you're living in India, you're so close to Vrindavan, you should go there on your vacation. Instead of London, or Paris, or Florida, or LA to go to Disneyland. Get the point? Go to Braj, the playground of God. So how do we know that Gokul, which is just a stone's throw from here, you're so close to the spiritual world you could taste it. How do we know that it's non-different than Goloka? Because when you speak in learned circles, we're speaking about real knowledge, transcendental knowledge, Raja Vidya Raja Guyam, the transcendental knowledge. When you speak in learned circles, whatever you say, you have to back it up with Shastra. That's authority. We have to become shloka wallas like Vaisheshika Prabhu. You know Vaisheshika Prabhu. He probably preached here. So where does it say that Gokul, a stone's throw from here, is an exact replica of Goloka in the spiritual? Where does it say? Well, in his commentary on Brahma Samhita, verse 2, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada, he explains it in very eloquent, old-style English. If you read him, what he wrote, you have to think twice. Because how did he learn English? How did Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur learn English for the purpose of preaching to the Britishers and the whole world for that matter? When he was 7 years old, he took a big British dictionary that was in the library of his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He locked himself in a room for 3 days, didn't speak a word of English, walked out of there 3 days later speaking fluent English because he read the dictionary. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he, a photograph memory. One time I heard a devotee ask Prabhupada, tell us something about your spiritual master. So Prabhupada paused and he said, What can I say? He was a Vaikuntha man. Hare Krishna. So this is the confirmation that Goloka and Gokula are non-different. The words of Bhakti Siddhanta, because we take the words of a pure devotee as good as Shastra. A pure devotee. Shastra is, the essence, but whatever a pure devotee says is as good as Shastra, because they're fully realized. Tattvadarshi, they can see things as they are. So he writes, there is practically no difference between Gokula and Goloka, save that, this is the fancy English, what exists in the shape of Goloka in the upper region is the same as Gokula on the mundane plane where Krishna showed his various activities. C'est ça, en français, c'est suffit. For us, that's proof. We can, when the pure devotee speaks, it's as good as Shastra. We take it like that. And sometimes the pure devotees are very kind. They reveal things to us that may not necessarily be there in the scriptures. It sometimes comes from their hearts, some little cherished tidbits about Krishna and his transcendental abode. Like Jesus said, my cup runneth over with love. My cup runneth over with love. So sometimes the pure devotees, they keep their deep spiritual emotions hidden in their hearts because they don't want the public to follow them for that. They want the public to follow them for the knowledge they're giving. So they don't show their deep spiritual emotions so often. But sometimes it just spills forward. Like one time, Srila Prabhupada in the early years, he sometimes cooked for the devotees. Can you imagine? He's acharya. He's teaching by example. He cooked a feast, and he served the feast. And after the feast was over, everyone left. The devotees went upstairs to go to sleep, and the public left. Prabhupada cleaned up the feast, and he washed the pots. This is acharya. Srila Prabhupada ki. Because even the smallest service to Krishna is relishable. So one day he cooked samosas. And he served the samosas with his own hands. And after my dear godbrother Tamal Krishna Goswami had eaten a samosa, he said, Srila Prabhupada, that was the most delicious samosa I have ever eaten. And Prabhupada paused for a moment, and one of those transcendental, intimate moments, he said, oh yes, that's because it's the recipe of Mother Yasoda. There was like this silence, like, what did you say? And Prabhupada wouldn't repeat. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So those of you who are sitting here this morning, you're the most fortunate persons on earth. Or I could say the universe or creation, because Gokula Vrindavan is just a stone's throw away. It's a ticket away. But as we've heard many times, I'm going to go a little deeper here. In truth, one can't enter in Vrindavan just by purchasing a ticket. Srila Prabhupada makes that very clear in one of his first books, the Krishna book. Krishna book, when I first read it, I thought it was fairy tale. Sorry. I wasn't a devotee yet. I just got a Krishna book. And this is like, Grimm's fairy tales or something. But we know it's absolute truth. It's absolute truth. And actually, the Krishna book is a summary study of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna's beautiful Vrindavan pastimes. It's a summary study. And Prabhupada, in the invocation or introduction, I can't remember, this little simple book presented in such a way that we can appreciate and fall in love with Krishna by hearing his Vrindavan pastimes. Prabhupada says that this book, Krishna book, will give solace to my followers when they reach the stage of Vipralambha Bhav. Vipalama bhavs, that exalted stage of feeling separation from Krishna. O Govinda, feeling her separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes. Torrents of rain. Krishna, I feel all vacant in the world in your absence. Ultimately, it's the highest because one is just flooded with thoughts of Krishna and his pastimes, his characteristics. Don't think it's really suffering. So, in that book, Krishna book, Prabhupada begins us on the path back home. These are very exalted subject matters. But the first, according to Confucius, the longest journey begins with the first step. So Prabhupada teaches us how to enter into Goloka and how to enter into Vrindavan just north of here. You can't just get there. You have to know there's a certain mood for going there. So Prabhupada writes in chapter 38, Krishna book, one cannot go to Vrindavan by purchasing a ticket. The process of going to Vrindavan is shown by Akrura. Akrura's journey to Vrindavan is exemplary. One who intends to visit Vrindavan should follow the ideal footsteps of Akrura. In other words, one can only understand Vrindavan by following in the footsteps of a pure devotee. And 5,000 years ago they had Akrura, and today we have Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Why? Because Prabhupada lived in Vrindavan. And he loved Vrindavan. And therefore, for us, Srila Prabhupada is the revealer of the Dham. He's the revealer of the Dham for us. Therefore, we owe everything to him because it's the Padam Gatim and he's leading us home. Home is where the heart is. Right now, our hearts, we're still a little attached to this material world, but in our heart of hearts, we want to fall in love with the spiritual world. We want to fall out of love with the material world and everything connected to it, and fall in love with the spiritual world, everything connected to it. So Srila Prabhupada is the one who's taking us through the ABCs and the XYZs. The spiritual master's duty is to convince us of the futility of material existence. Let go, you fool, and grab onto the lotus feet of Krishna and go back home, back to God. That's the spiritual. 50% of Prabhupada's lectures were just about the material world. Dukkalayam ashashvatam, temporary place full of suffering. You get it? We were with Prabhupada in Detroit. He came to the airport and we had a big Vyasasan like that. We brought it into the airport. And Prabhupada sat on, he gave a lecture. And at one point, he leaned over to us. I was sitting right here, there. And Prabhupada leaned over and he said, my dear boys and girls, please believe me when I say you are not these bodies. I'd read that, I'd heard that in class. When Prabhupada said it, I said, yuck. I was a young man, 19, strong, yuck. When the spiritual master speaks, it resonates with the heart. So for us, Prabhupada is the one who's gradually convincing us of the futility of material existence and leading us home. Home is where the heart is. He's going to awaken the heartbeat for Vrindavan. Just like one time Prabhupada was walking on a beach in California. It was a beach I used to surf at. Surf. I know that beach very well. But Prabhupada was walking on that beach in California. And the waves, I know the waves, they're good waves, 3-4 feet, sometimes 5 feet high, those waves. So the waves were crashing. Kaboom! Kaboom! You know the ocean waves? Do you have waves here in Bombay? There's no surfers here. Okay. Kaboom! Kaboom! So kind of unfamiliar with that, Prabhupada, he said to the devotees, what is that sound? And they said, oh, Prabhupada, that's the sound of the waves crashing on the beach. And Prabhupada said, no. Excuse me? No. That's the sound of the gopis' heartbeats in separation from Krishna. So we want our hearts to be like that as well. It takes a lot of work to get to the stage of, Ruchi and Nishta and Bhav, but, we're on the right path. Just stick to it and don't deviate. So therefore we owe everything to Prabhupada. Hey Guru Janada Dinabando Smananda Data Karun Aitik Sindhu Vrindavan Ashina Hitavatara Prashida Radha Pananaya Pachara. O spiritual master, O giver of wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you are the giver of your own bliss, and you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like me, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha and Krishna. Please be kind upon me. Actually, one time Prabhupada gave a hint to a devotee how to actually see and understand Vrindavan. Once in Vrindavan, Prabhupada was speaking. This was in the early years, I think, one of the first trips the devotees took with Prabhupada. He took them on parikrama, can you imagine? I have parikrama gurus like Dinabandhu. You know Dinabandhu? He's my parikrama guru. Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj, Radhanath Swami, these are our parikrama gurus. Prabhupada was the original parikrama guru, can you believe it? In the early years, he would sometimes take devotees on parikrama around Vrindavan. I had the good fortune to go on one of those parikramas. We went to Brahmanda Ghat. And Prabhupada said something, I couldn't hear, it was some distance away, but then he put on a gumption, he took a bath in the Jamuna, and he invited us all to come in. And we were bathing and frolicking, and Prabhupada was splashing water with us in the Jamuna. It was so sweet. So, one time, on a little parikrama party at the very beginning, he was sharing his understanding of Vrindavan, kind of summarizing what he writes in Krishna book. Just kind of revealing the Dham to the devotees through his words. He said, Vrindavan is such a nice place. Flowers are always blooming, and there are even various kinds of decorated deer. Birds are chirping, peacocks are crowing and dancing, and bees, they're humming. The cuckoos there sing nicely in 5 kinds of tunes. Do, re, mi, fa. Krishna, the reservoir of pleasure, blowing his venu, his vamsi, his flute, accompanied by his elder brother, Dhauji, Balaram, and the other cowherd boys and the cows, entered the beautiful forest of Vrindavan to enjoy the atmosphere. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki. Jai. Then he asked for questions. And one disciple raised his hand. He said, Srila Prabhupada, you're giving this beautiful, pristine, pure understanding of Vrindavan, but when I look around, I see the latrine I just went to. It was filthy, dirty. And the mosquitoes, and the rickshawallas begging for money, and the pigs, and the open sewers. I don't see Vrindavan like you're seeing Vrindavan. Why? So Prabhupada smiled. He said, yes, that's because you have a speck in your eye, so you're not seeing it correctly. So that devotee, he had glasses. He took off his glasses and he went, Probably it looks the same. Sometimes the dust comes and you get something in your eye, so you take it out, like that. Prabhupada said, no, the speck in your eye is the desire for material enjoyment. When you remove that desire for material enjoyment and you practice Krishna consciousness, what will come? Premanjani charati bhakti valochina. When your eyes are covered with the salve of love, you can see Vrindavan as it is. Because Vrindavan's an abode of love. Love reigns supreme in Vrindavan. It's not about me, it's all about you, Krishna. Here in this world is I, me, and mine, and to various degrees, okay. But Amala Bhakti, real Bhakti means it's all about you. It's not about me. And because I'm your part and parcel, if you're pleased, I will naturally be pleased. Get me out of here. Take me home to that transcendental abode. So, we're following in the footsteps of Prabhupada, which means we're following in the footsteps of a Vrajabasi who loves Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada made it very clear that Vrindavan is our ultimate destination, our real home. In his purport to the 5th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 13, text number 8, he makes it very clear where he wants us. One must go to Vrindavan forest and take shelter of Govinda. That will make one happy. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness is therefore constructing a Krishna Balaram temple to invite its members, as well as outsiders. This is the Mahatma, the broad vision of a devotee, as well as outsiders to come and live peacefully in a spiritual atmosphere. That will help one become elevated to the transcendental world and return back home, back to Krishna. Just by going to the Dham, just sitting there like a bump on a log, not doing anything, the atmosphere is such that it will elicit something deep within your heart, something spiritual. And Srila Prabhupada would sometimes reveal his own deep love for Vrindavan. And because we're his followers, what is our greatest title? You know, people like little titles, Mr., Mrs., Ma'am, you know, we have nicknames for, you know. Our greatest title is Prabhupada Nugas. If someone asks you, who are you? I'm a Prabhupada Nuga. I'm a Prabhupada Nuga. So we should try to emulate that love. In his memoirs means what you write as you grow older, of the early days. Hayagriva Das, you've heard of Hayagriva, one of the first devotees? He wrote a book, he passed away many years ago, but in New Vrindavan. He wrote a book called Vrindavan Days. It means those early years when Prabhupada took the first devotees to Vrindavan, in his diary, he quoted something Prabhupada said. And Prabhupada said in Vrindavan, "My dear boys and girls, before coming to the West, I lived very simply here in Vrindavan, content to be in Rupa Goswami's presence." Hare Krishna. Near the Samadhi Mandir. Now I have hundreds of temples to go to, but I still like it here, best of all. And even when he was preaching in the West, Prabhupada felt great separation from Vrindavan. In the Prabhupada Lilamrita, I found a quote. Prabhupada's quote is saying, "Here I am now, sitting in New York, the world's greatest city, but my heart is always hankering after Braj." Like father, like son. We want to be like our father, our spiritual father. We have to imbibe the same mood. In his purport to Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 29, verse 39, Prabhupada said, "In a holy place like Vrindavan, if one gets the chance to hear from pure devotees, then the cultivation of Krishna consciousness becomes very easy." Why take the stairs when you can take the elevator? Of course, for physical health it's good, but why take a long time to get back to the spiritual world? Kali Yuga is going to get worse and worse and worse. But if we go to Vrindavan and we hear from the devotees there, the cultivation of Krishna consciousness becomes very easy. It's like we're in the slow lane, you know. Go to Vrindavan from time to time. Prabhupada said, if you've got time, chant Hare Krishna. So if you've got time, go to Vrindavan. Because you get in the fast lane, just being there. So why is Vrindavan so dear to all the devotees? Because it's a place meant for developing love of God. Why do people go to a disco? Why do they go to a bar? Why do they go to a mundane movie? Because those places are meant for enjoying your senses. Isn't it? You go to certain places, and tamasic places, rajic places, sattvic places. People go to the forest, because being in the city all day, they go to all week. They go to the woods on the weekend. But where do we go? We go to the Vrindavan. Van means forest. We go to Vrindavan because our sole aim, Eke Kuru Nandana, is within this very short space of time that we have. Life is short and then you die. We want to be Krishna conscious at the moment of death because that will guarantee our trip back home. And Krishna says, having once attained that abode, you never come back again. So therefore, Prabodhananda Saraswati in his Vrindavan Mahimamrita, he said, don't walk to Vrindavan, don't jog. People like to jog. Don't jog to Vrindavan, run to Vrindavan. So from Pune to Vrindavan, let's go. Let's just stop right now. All, purchase some tickets, let's just go to Braj, forget it all. No, because like Prabhupada left Vrindavan to share Vrindavan with the world, because Brajavasis, they like to share their good fortune with others. You have to stay here in Chowpatty and preach. But sometimes you should go. Actually, in the Bhagavatam 3:24, I found this amazing verse. Vrindavan is not just for elevated, pure devotees. You can even be a bad guy and go there. What? You can be a bad guy and go to Vrindavan. Prabhupada writes, Vrindavan, any person may go there. And even if he is sinful, he will at once contact an atmosphere of spiritual life and automatically chant the names Krishna and Radha. What a place. Like a magical mystery tour there. Actually, even millions of years ago, Sri Prahlad Maharaj, one of the 12 Mahajans, he recommended his father go to Vrindavan. What? Hiranyakashipu? He was the biggest asura the universe has ever known. He conquered the 14 worlds. I read recently, Narada Muni was the foot servant of Hiranyakashipu. Sometimes Vaishnavas are placed in these situations. The greatest asura. So, and Prahlad Maharaj, this little 5-year-old boy, his father is towering over him. Rah, if your God is everywhere, is he in this pillar? Oh yeah, he's in the pillar, Pita. But before you hit that pillar, you should go to Braj. He was the most sinful guy. Who could be more sinful than Hiranyakashipu? The only person on that same level was Ravana. Jai Sri Ram! Jai Sri Ram! Got to throw it in. How do we know that Prahlad told his Pita to go to Braj? It's there in Scripture. 775. Oh, best of the Asuras. Prahlad's diplomatic. Hey, Dad, you're the best of the demons. Oh, thank you, Prahlad. If you young children said to your father, your Vaishnava father, Peter, you're the best of the demons, you wouldn't get breakfast or lunch or something. But Hiranyakashipu was very proud of the fact. O best of the Asuras, king of the demons, as far as I have learned from my spiritual master, although he's one of the 12 Mahajans, any person who has accepted a temporary body and temporary household life is certainly embarrassed by anxiety because of having fallen in a dark well where there's no water but only suffering. One should give up this position and go to the forest, Vana. More clearly, my dear father, one should go to Vrindavan, where only Krishna consciousness is prevalent, and should thus take shelter of the Supreme Personality of God. Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki. Now, in his purport to that verse, because the spiritual master, his service or his duty is to make everything very clear. For the most part, we're all pretty dull-headed, at least I am. Kalo Suddha Sambhavan, it's described. Kalo Suddha Sambhavan. North India is very cold. Kalo Suddha Sambhavan means that in the age of Kali, most people are born with the Sudra-like tendency. So these scriptures, these purports, the scriptures themselves may be difficult for us to understand. So the spiritual master is meant to make everything clear by his comments. So Prabhupada comments on that verse. It's like it's like dessert. You have the meal, you have dessert. So we have the verse, and then we have Prabhupada's commentary. That's the dessert. And we're always hankering for the dessert, right? Srila Prabhupada ki. In our Krishna conscious movement, we therefore invite all the elderly persons of the world. See his vision. Prabhupada said, my only fault is I thought too big. No, thank you, Prabhupada, for thinking big, because you spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. In our Krishna conscious movement, we are therefore inviting all the elderly people of the world. Hello, there's 7 billion people on this planet. How many are elderly? Maybe 1 billion. To come to Vrindavan and stay there in retired life, making advancement in spiritual consciousness, Krishna consciousness. Actually, Prabhupada not only invited the world, the elderly, whatever, to visit Vrindavan, but in a letter, he's encouraging people to live there. November 9th, 1975. A letter to a disciple. Anyone who can stay permanently in Vrindavan is welcome. See if I find those small ones. Or maybe you have some. Okay. I'm going to mix the medicine. I hope I'm okay. Anyone who can stay permanently in Vrindavan is welcome. I want that as many devotees as possible stay permanently and become Brajabasis. That will be very inspiring. So at some point you may want to consider that. After a lifetime of preaching, make your home Braj. And in Srimad Bhagavatam 4.8.42, in the purport, Prabhupada writes, unless one is very advanced in spiritual life, it is recommended that he live in a holy place like Prayag, Mathura, and Vrindavan. So that means that not only pure devotees can live there, but neophytes can also live there. Vrindavan is so special. I found a nice verse in Shtavamala. Do you know Shtavamala? Shtavamala is written by our Rasacharya, Rupa Goswami. He writes, he praised at Vrindavan. Such a special place. Sinners can live there. Pure devotees can live there. Even dogs and pigs can live there and make spiritual advancement because they're rolling in Brajavena, the dust of the Vrindavan, eating the remnants of the sadhus leave on their leaf cup plates. Rupa Goswami, he praised the Vrindavan. Listen to this. O Vrindavan forest, was there ever anyone in this world who did not quickly attain supreme transcendental bliss by serving you? Therefore I surrender to you and most humbly petition you. O Vrindavan, be kind and personally disclose to me the best way to receive the darshan of your worshipable lords, Sisi, Radha, and Krishna. Sri Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki. So as we were discussing, we want to go there, but we just can't run there and think, I'm here, I'm okay. No. We have to learn how to enter Vrindavan from pure devotees. And earlier, we heard Srila Prabhupada himself recommend one devotee. Remember that verse? One cannot go to Vrindavan, purport. One cannot go to Vrindavan by purchasing a ticket. The process of going to Vrindavan is shown by a Krura. A Krura's journey to Vrindavan is exemplary. One who intends to visit Vrindavan should follow the ideal footsteps of a Krura. So let's just take a few minutes. Is that okay? You have to go home? No? Should I continue? That's what Radhanath Swami does. I learned that from him. This is Chowpatty. It's the perfect place to do it. Would you like to hear the story? Of course you'd like to hear the story. We've got to wake you up. You want to hear the story? Yay! All glories to Radhanath Swami. So the pastime, actually, of a Kura going to Vrindavan is very instructive. We know, of course, 5,000 years ago in Mathura, the evil Asura, Kamsa, I don't even like to say his name, Kamsa, was sending a demon every day to kill Krishna in Gokula. However, he was unsuccessful. Why? Krishna is the Jita. He's unconquerable. So Krishna changed his plan. Instead of sending demons to kill Krishna in Gokul, he thought, let's bring Krishna to Mathura and we'll kill him. We'll pretend to have a wrestling match, with Chanura. Is it Chanura and Mushtika? Yes? And they're big, powerful men. And they'll kill this little boy. So as his emissary, he chose one of his ministers. Akura was a minister of Kamsa. He said, you go to Braj and you make this invitation to both Krishna and that other one. What that other one? That Balaram. He sometimes kills my friends when I send them there. You bring them both back. So, but we should understand that although Akura was part of Kamsa's team, he was in fact a great devotee of Krishna. He was part of the bad guys, but they call that a spy, I guess you say. He was implanted there, or whatever. He was a minister, so he very happily accepted the service. And we read in Bhagavatam that as he traveled to Vrindavan, he was meditating on his good fortune of being able to enter Vrindavan, the abode of his beloved Lord. And actually Akura demonstrating you could say the topmost quality of a devotee, humility. He was thinking, what auspicious acts have I done? What severe austerities have I undergone? What charities have I performed to be able to enter Vrindavan? He realized it was a special place. I'm just a wretched, materialistic person absorbed in sense enjoyment. This is genuine humility. It's not just saying it. It's a prerequisite for anyone desiring to enter into Braj. We see the same humility demonstrated again by our childhood hero, Prahlad Maharaj. He was asked by Lord Brahma to approach Lord Nrsingadev. So there's a famous verse, isn't there, in the Srimad Bhagavatam? Prahlad Maharaj said, how is it possible for me, who have been born in a family of asuras, to offer suitable prayers to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Even until now, all the demigods headed by Lord Brahma and all the saintly persons could not satisfy the Lord by streams of excellent words, although such persons are very qualified, being in the mode of goodness. Then what is to be said of me? I'm not at all qualified. This is the crest jewel of all devotees' qualities, his humility. And therefore Mahaprabhu stresses it in his, whatever little he left in writing, in his Shikshastra compares. It's very difficult to make progress in spiritual life unless you're meek and humble. The Bible says, only the meek shall enter the kingdom of heaven. Actually, all our acharyas, they show that humility because they know God. like if you're walking to a mountain. You're a big guy. I'm going to go to that mountain. I'm going to climb that mountain. But as you get closer to the mountain, you realize how great the mountain is and how little you are, and you become humbled. I'm going to conquer Mount Everest. Okay, go. And you get at base camp and you go, whoa! You become humbled by the greatness before you. So the sign that one is actually a self-realized devotee, that he's actually knows God, he's seen God, he's seen how great God is, he's humble. Same logic. If you've realized how great God is, you'll be very humble. So we see that in all of our acharyas. They're not faking it. In Chaitanya Charitamrita Kaviraj Goswami, what is it? Adi Lila chapter 5, verse 205. Jagai made hoite muni se papishta, puri sara kita hoite muni se lagishta. I even don't want to repeat the verse. I am more he's saying this. How? I am more sinful than Jagai and Madhai, and even lower than the worms in the stool. And then we can hear from him because we know he's realized how great is God and how tiny he is. And of course Mahaprabhu, what did he say? You can say the verse with me. Trinadapi sunichana tori api sahisnana amanina manadena. To keep it short, one should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind. Actually, that verse, let's say it in full. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than the tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. Now, that was one of the few verses given to us by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He spoke our philosophy through the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. That's how we know the mind, we know the heart of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He empowered the Goswamis to represent him. He told them, write books on the science of Krishna consciousness. But actually, Mahaprabhu is quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita saying how important that one verse of Sri Shastakam is. It's so important. He proclaimed, Urdva bahu kari kohan shuna sharvlok nameshtutre ganti para kante e shlok. Raising my hands, I declare, everyone please hear me. String this verse, that verse, on the thread of the holy name and wear it on your neck for continuous remembrance. You've heard this verse, yes? Take that verse and string it on the thread of the holy name and wear it around your neck. What's around your neck? Tridada peace and each and Dora peace. Yeah, it's one of my god sisters, Kishore Dasi. She took that Trinada peace in each of her, and this is 1972. I was always shocked. She had this big tattoo. Trinada peace in each and our. It was around her neck. I saw her recently. It's all faded now, but it's in her heart. Kishore. Because she heard Prabhupada say that, but she took it in that way. She made a tattoo. She was the first to have a tattoo. Now so many devotees have tattoos. She's number one, Kishore. So I'm very humble and very meek. Only the meek shall enter the gates of heaven. So someone can say, but how can a person who admits he's weak be strong enough to advance in Krishna consciousness? Huh? If we're weak, how can we advance in Krishna consciousness? Well, the answer is that a devotee knows the Lord's mercy is greater than his or her own disqualifications. The Lord's mercy is greater than our disqualifications. And he happily bestows mercy upon his devotees who he knows in their hearts, Eke Kuru Nandana, I want to become Krishna conscious. Please, Krishna, help me. I want to become Krishna conscious. Oh, there's that verse in Pajavali, one of my favorites. Rupa Goswami says, Lord, I'm drowning in the fathomless whirlpool of material existence. O Lord, O friend, O Lord, O friend of those who have no shelter, O effulgent moon of mercy, please just this one time extend your hand to save me. I'm fallen, here I am. My only hope is you. Actually, there's another verse in Padjavali. The elephant of my mind is drowning in the waters of material illusion, strongly held by the ferocious crocodile of the threefold miseries. It anxiously cries with fear in its heart, O Lord Hari, please rescue it with your glowing Sudarshan chakra, which cuts the sufferings of the demigods to pieces. We owe so much to Rupa Goswami. His verses and his purports just bring the philosophy, and what's more, bring the emotion of Krishna consciousness to a very clear picture. When I was a young boy, I don't know if they still do it, my mother bought these little pads, right? And there was nothing on them. But if you took a pencil, the flat part of a pencil, and you rubbed it, the picture would appear. Do you have like that also? So that's Rupa Goswami. When he comments on the scriptures, it's like, now I see. So therefore there's a nice prayer to Rupa Goswami, which I'd like to recite to you. Sudyartam mama dehasya jalashnanam karom yaham Shri Rup Bhak Shunda Nanshamam Svatmana Pari Sudaye. For purification of my physical body, I bathe regularly using water. However, for the complete purification of myself and my existence, I bathe in the nectarian words of Sri Rupa Goswami. Sri Rupa Goswami ki. So, back to Akura. He's on the chariot. He was thinking, I'm so fallen, but what was his next thought? But enough of such thoughts. After all, even a fallen soul like me can have the chance to behold the infallible Supreme Lord. For one of the conditioned souls being swept along in the river of time may sometimes reach the shore. You see in the river all the sticks and leaves and flowers. Sometimes they're rushing, sometimes one reaches the shore. So he said, I'm through the river of time, I'm going through this world, but somehow by the infallible mercy of the Lord, I may find myself on the shore of Vaikuntha. Brahmanda Brahmata Konya Bhagavanji, Guru Krishna Prasad Bhai Bhakti Lat Beach. We're just wandering from one universe, species of life, body to another. But the spiritual master, on behalf of the Lord, he stops us on the street and says, hey, are you from here? Are you out of town? I live here in Pune. Here, take this book. We're giving them out today. Just cover the cost of printing. And you interested in yoga? Yeah, I'm thinking of going to a yoga school. Well, look, here's an invitation to our temple. Come to our temple. Tomorrow's a big celebration. We're going to be celebrating the new temple construction in Ayodhya. In association of devotees, you can come and hear about Lord Ram. Raghupati Raghava Raja Ram, Patita Pavana Sita Ram, Sita Ram Jai Sita Ram, Sita Ram Jai Jai Sri Ram. Jai Sri Ram. That's how it happens. They intervene on behalf. So that's what Akura is saying. Somehow I may, in this rush of time, by the mercy of Krishna, I may find myself one day on the shores of Vaikuntha. So it's very nice. As Akura these are his thoughts. We're sharing his thoughts because this is how we should go to Vrindavan. Not just the ticket, but the mood. So as Akura proceeded to Vrindavan, it's really nice. He started imagining what it would be like to be with Krishna. We should think like that too. I'm going to make it by the mercy of my Guru, by the mercy of Mahaprabhu, who's even more merciful than Krishna. I'm going to make it. You have to be, I'm going to make it. I'll never give up, not me. This is Peter Pan. This is all I know about Disneyland. I remember my parents would take me to Peter Pan's one of the movies. He was just a little kid and he had to achieve something. I'll never give up, not me. We should be like that. Eke Kununandana. I'm going to make it. And then we can imagine, wow, what's it going to be like? What's it going to be like when we're home? There's no place like home. It's going to be such a relief to begin with. Get out of that world of birth, disease, old age, and death, and be back in the pristine beauty, the abode of love. Actually, Prabhupada did say one time to one of my godbrothers, when we get back to the spiritual world, the spiritual master is waiting for us. He takes our hand, he leads us into the kunja, the grove, where Krishna is waiting for us. He puts our hand in Krishna's hand, and he leaves us alone for some time. And Prabhupada told Dhananjaya, my godbrother, in a moment of intimacy, because Dhananjaya did a lot of service for Prabhupada. He said, Dhananjaya, when we get back to the spiritual world, we will all recognize each other. Yeah, I remember you. You're that sannyasi that, sat on the big chair there in Chowpatty and gave a what was your name? And I don't want to remember. Now I have my gopi skirt on. I'm not even qualified to know I'm not the body yet. So anyway, Hare Krishna. So he was trying to imagine what it would be like to be with Krishna. Now, in English we call this daydreaming. Meditating, like daydreaming in this world means, making plans for happiness in the future, how they're going to materialize. I'll work like this. I'll get this much money. I'll invest that percentage. I'll get that much money back. I'll buy a house and, daydream. But our daydream is just that. It's a dream. And dreams are not real. Dreams are illusion. One time Prabhupada said, if you dream of the spiritual master Krishna, that's very nice. But everything else is just nonsense. The mind, you see a piece of gold, you see a mountain, and the nighttime you dream of a golden mountain, like that. So this type of daydream is called Godadimba. Godadimba. It means the egg of a horse. Do horses produce eggs? No, so daydreaming is a waste of time. There's another word, kapushpa. Kapushpa means a flower growing in the sky. Hello? There's no such thing as a flower that grows in the sky. Similarly, why daydream about happiness in this world? It's here today, it's gone tomorrow, if not 2 seconds later. It's like water in a duck's back. Yes, but it's a world of duality. Up and down, black and white, boy and girl. Happiness? Hey, this weather is better than Vrindavan. It's freezing cold up there. But there's also distress. It's like you're eating an ice cream cone or something and it falls in the sand and you pick it up, you start eating. It's the same ice cream, but it's crunchy. So there's happiness here, but it's always gritting in your teeth, right? So daydream. But Akura's dreaming of meeting in Krishna is absolute reality because he's a pure devotee. So we can also, quote unquote, daydream in that context that I just want to be with Krishna. So what exactly was Akura daydreaming? This is nice. We could look into the heart of a devotee. We want to look into the heart of a devotee. They share their hearts with us. They're not shy. That's what they're here for. So Bhagavatam 10:38-17, we look into the heart of Akura. A rare opportunity, not afforded to most of the 7 billion people on this planet. We are very privileged, Prabhus. We're very fortunate that we have access to such things as the thoughts of a pure devotee. the words of a pure devotee, the instructions of a pure devotee. We have so much mercy, we don't know what to do with it. Like Prabhupada's father, Gaur Mohan Dey, he said to Prabhupada, the universal form, the Supreme Lord, he has many arms and many hands, and if he wants to give you mercy, how much can your two little hands hold? Prabhupada remembered that when he was a little boy. Krishna has unlimited hands. If he wants to give you mercy, how much your two little hands can hold, like that. So we have so much mercy. This is one of the mercies that we get to see, look into the heart of a person who's pure, completely pure, pristine pure. So what was Akura daydreaming? When he gets to Vrindavan, what he's going to do? 10:38:17. Api angri mule pati tasya me vibhu. When I have fallen at Krishna's feet, the Almighty Lord will place His lotus hand upon my head. For those who seek shelter in Him, because they are greatly disturbed by the powerful serpent of time, that hand removes all fear. That's what he was thinking. He's referring to the lotus hand of Krishna. Krishna's off, different parts of the lotus eyes, the lotus face, the lotus hands. The Puranas, they call the lotus flower found in the Manasarovara lake Sugandhika. Sugandhika is literally the white lotus. And that particular lotus flower, the Sugandhika in the Manasarovara lake, that particular white lotus, very fragrant. The sadhus told me, I went to Kailash. We did the Kora around Kailash with a group of devotees some years ago. Very mystical. You come very close to Shiva, who's the greatest devotee of Krishna. Yes, it was amazing. But the sadhus told us that you pass by the Mansarovar lake. They told us the white lotuses that grow there, you can smell them 1 kilometer away. Wow! If there's a whole bunch of lotuses, you can imagine you're walking there. They say it just overwhelms you. The Sugandhika lotus flower. So similarly, the Acharyas say that, commenting on this particular part of Akura's journey, where he refers to Krishna's lotus hand, they say that Krishna's lotus hand acquired the fragrance of this Sugandhika lotus flower. How? By coming in contact with the beautiful faces of the gopis. That's how Krishna's hand smells like that, because he touched the gopis like that. His hand took on that beautiful perfume because of his touching or contact with the faces of the gopis. This is deep, but it's nice. Actually, this incident occurred, I researched it more, where Krishna got the perfume of the gopis' bodies. It's described in the 33rd chapter of the 10th canto. So knowing this fact, Akura is hankering for the Lord to put that hand on his head. Oh my gosh. All I want for Christmas is my 2 front teeth. Little kids, Christmas time, of course you don't know, but in my country, when Christmas came, I'd give my dad this long list of things I wanted. He said, it's 3 pages long, son. We don't have that kind of money. And he'd quote that song. All I want for Christmas is my 2 front teeth. You got it, boy? But what does Akura want? What do we want as Gaudiya Vaishnavas? We learn what we want from the spiritual master. We think we want this, that, and this. But no. Dear Guruji, what do I want? Well, he'll tell you what you want. Pure devotional service to Krishna. And because you have faith in Him, that becomes your motivation. You may still hanker for the material things, but because you have faith in the words of your spiritual master, you kick those things away one by one out of your heart until there's only pure devotional service. That's Guru Nishta. I asked Tamal Krishna Goswami one time I was about to start initiating. So I said, Goswami Maharaj, because he was a great devotee, he was a Prabhupada man, and he was like, whenever I had questions, I'd go to TKG. So I said, Goswami Maharaj, what is the most important quality of a disciple? What should I look for if someone, for whatever reason, wants to see me as their teacher? What should I look for in that student? What's the most important quality of a disciple? So he kind of closed his eyes and then he replied, Guru Nishta, faith in the spiritual master. All auspiciousness comes from having faith in the spiritual master. If you have faith in your spiritual master, what he says you'll take to heart. And having taken it to heart, you'll act on it, and that jnana will become vijnana. Tadvidi paripatena paripashna sevaya uparikshanti te jnanam ganinas tatvadarshanaha. If you want to know what is spiritual life, you approach a spiritual teacher. You inquire from him, paripashnaya, and then sevaya. The knowledge he gives you becomes vijnana, realized knowledge, by serving that instruction. Krishna said, I can be understood as I am only by devotional service. So we're very fortunate. We know what pure devotees want. So I want the same thing. I don't want my 2 teeth for Christmas. I want Amala Bhakti. I'm simply running behind you, Guru Maharaj, shouting Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Because that's what he wants. So yeah, I don't have it, and you've got it. Please give it to me. I'm trying to serve you. I understand the mission. Life after life, I'll stay here as long as it takes. Because by serving you here, I qualify myself to serve you there. So as Akrura got closer to Vrindavan, he actually meditated on what he would do when he got there. It's so much different than us, or at least me. That, I flew in from New York, or I spend most of my time in Europe. I've flown in from London or Warsaw, and I'm getting, I'm on the Yamuna Expressway from Delhi to Vrindavan, and I'm looking forward, to my accommodation. I'm going to get a hot shower, and go to the MBT, and get something to eat. So that's what I'm thinking when I'm approaching Vrindavan. Hey, wake up! Why wake up? I should wake up. Why don't I think like Akrura? I meant to be following in the footsteps. Prabhupada actually wrote me a letter. In the letter, there were a number of instructions, but the one that really stood out is he said, follow the 4 Vikata principles, chant Hare Krishna, and always follow in the footsteps of advanced devotees. And due course of time, we will give you initiation. I was still bhakta. Always follow in the footsteps. And in every congregation of devotees, by the Lord's will, there's young devotees, there's intermediate, and there's advanced devotees. We shouldn't think there's not advanced devotees. There are advanced devotees everywhere. That's the Lord's arrangement. So we should follow. We should have our mentors. So, why would I think like that? My body, I'm going to take care of my body when I get to Vrindavan. Hello! The first thing is you should take shelter of Krishna. So what's Akrura thinking? It's right there in the Bhagavatam. I will at once alight from my chariot and bow down to the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram. Their feet are meditated upon by great mystic yogis, striving for self-realization. I will also offer obeisances to the Lord's cowherd friends, the gopas. And I will offer my obeisances to all the residents of Vrindavan. The Bhagavatam actually says that Akrura was confident that when he got there, Krishna would know his heart. Thank God. And the Guru also knows our heart. Akrura said, The infallible Lord will not consider me an enemy, even though Kamsa has sent me. After all, the omniscient Lord perfectly knows the hearts of everyone. And when I was reading that last night in preparation for this class, I was thinking Prabhupada had this same mystic ability to know the hearts of his disciples. Many Prabhupada disciples will tell you that when he looked at you, you sensed he was looking straight into your heart and knew everything about you. It would make your hair stand on end. Prabhupada would look at you and you knew that he was looking at you with compassion. He was looking into your heart. He knew who you were. He knew who you were. So, Akrura, we have so many details. Love is in the details. Akrura reached Vrindavan at sunset. And the first thing he saw was Krishna's footprints. In Vrindavan, they were, and if you have the vision now, they're everywhere, because when the gopis of Vrindavan, here in India, you take the broom and you sweep the streets, right? Or you sweep the grove or whatever. So in Braj, they're sweeping the groves there, and if they come across one of Krishna's footprints, they go into ecstasy, and they leave it. So there's footprints of Krishna everywhere. So they don't disturb them. How can I back that up? Srimad Bhagavatam 10:21-10. O friend, Vrindavan is spreading the glory of the earth, having obtained the treasure of the lotus feet of Krishna, the son of Devaki. The peacocks dance madly when they hear Govinda's flute, and when other creatures see him from the hilltops, they become stunned. So there's that, having obtained the treasure of the lotus feet of Krishna. That's what makes Vrindavan special. Sanatana Goswami has written that because in Vrindavan Krishna always goes barefoot, the land is covered by his footprints, which make Vrindavan more glorious than Vaikuntha, where Vishnu wears slippers. What a verse. Because in Vrindavan Krishna always goes barefoot, the land is covered by his footprints, which make Vrindavan more glorious than Vaikuntha, where Vishnu wears slippers. Why doesn't Krishna wear slippers? One day Mother Yasoda, she said to him, Lala, you're going to the forest every day with your cows, and there's prickly thorns and sharp rocks and holes, and you're going to hurt your feet. Lala, please wear some shoes. So Krishna said, Maya, Maya, how can I wear shoes if my beloved cows don't wear shoes? If you want to give all my cows shoes, I'll start wearing shoes. But there's 900,000 cows, so she never got around. So seeing Krishna's footprints, Akrura set an example. And listen to this. He exclaimed, this is the dust from my master's feet. And he got down and he rolled and he rolled and he rolled in the dust. Ooh, the dust. No, but it's Brajrenu. Brajrenu is one of the 5 personalities who grant you entrance and residence to Vrindavan, right? Govardhan Hill, the Yamuna River, Gopeshwara Mahadev, etc. Brajrenu. It's from the Chintamani stone. The dust comes from stones of it. It gives bhakti, the dust. There's one Raghava Pandit during the pastimes of Mahaprabhu. He lived in a cave at Govardhan Hill. Pakka Brahmana Vaishnava. Brahmanas are characterized by their cleanliness. Prabhupada told us in Detroit, he said, a Brahman is so clean that after drinking water, he washes his hands. So Raghava Pandit was Pakka clean Brahman, but he would get up in the morning and take his bath and then roll in the dust. Usually, if you get up and you roll in the dust, then you take a bath. But he considered the dust of Vrindavan to be a veritable ornament on his body. Because Krishna's lotus feet, Shivadika's lotus feet, the cowherd boys, they've walked that dust. They've walked through that dust, so we take that dust upon our heads. He rolled in it. And that's what we should do. When we go to, now Vrindavan's becoming more asphalt, unfortunately. The Parikrama Marg, which we used to walk on in the 70s, was this beautiful dust, like the cloud would come up with every... Now they've made it the ring road, and you've been there. But there's plenty of dust. Vrindavan has 60 million holy places. 60 million holy places. So there's plenty of places where there's dust. So our Srila Prabhupada has given instructions in this matter. Get out of the car and roll in the dust. In Krishna book, chapter 38, he writes, as soon as one reaches the boundary of Vrindavan, he should immediately smear the dust of Vrindavan all over his body without thinking of his material position and prestige. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has sung in a celebrated song, Vishaya Chairi Kabe Shuddha Hobe Nam. When my mind will be purified after leaving the contamination of material sense enjoyment, I should be able to visit Vrindavan. So raise your hand if next time you're going to go to Vrindavan and roll in the dust. Okay, thank you. So this pastime, there's much more, but this pastime of Akura shows us the proper mood and actions to be taken when we get to Vrindavan. And it will be for our supreme benefit. I found a lecture Prabhupada gave in 1967. He said, actually, you can see that Vrindavan Dham, any person who visits, however atheistic he may be, however nonsense he may be, if he goes to that place, he'll feel Krishna's presence. Simply by going there, he'll change his mind. Here is God. Here is Krishna. I accept it. So many miracles take place. We think of miracles thousands of years ago. No. There's so many miracles. You know a miracle. Look in the mirror. So I hope that our description today of Akura's journey to Braj will help you on your next journey to Vrindavan. But let us remember again, Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya, it's all by his mercy. How to approach Vrindavan, how to live in Vrindavan, how to die in Vrindavan. It's said that if one is born in Vrindavan, if one lives in Vrindavan, or one dies in Vrindavan, he goes back to Godhead. We can also add, based on so much research, you can also go back home, back to Godhead by living in Ethiopia or Mongolia or the Arctic Circle if you're serving Vrindavan. Actually, you can make your own home in Vrindavan by following the 9 processes of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Shmaranam, Padasevanam, Archanam, Bandham, Dasyam, Sakyama. That also creates the Vrindavan atmosphere. Bhaktivinoda Thakur once wrote, I woke up this morning and saw that my house, my home, has been transformed into Goloka Vrindavan. Yes, this is Prabhupada's mercy. The way of life he's given us, we can live in Vrindavan. Living in Vrindavan it's the consciousness which is most important. And Prabhupada carried Vrindavan to the world because he was a Brajabasi. That's why he was so attractive. Everywhere he went, he carried that Vrindavan mood. So practice Krishna consciousness carefully, diligently, in the privacy of your own homes. And but do go to Vrindavan from time to time. Become fortunate. It's one of the great mercies that you here in India and you in Chowpatty and Mumbai, you have some special nectar, special privilege like that. And it's just one of the many, they say count your blessings, that we have that term in English, count your blessings. So let's count our blessings by finishing with the verse by Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, our Parojana Guru, in his Sri Mukta Charita. Each of the things he says is a blessing that we can count and put in the treasure chest of our hearts and lock it so no one steals it. He writes, I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose causeless mercy I have obtained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Sachimata, the association of Srila Shrup Damodar Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and his elder brother Sanatana Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, divine Radhakund, and Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart for the loving service of Sri Radhika and Madhava in Vrindavan. Hare Krishna. I'd like to present all of you another little jewel. This is a new book that we just put out. It's called, very aptly, The Sacred Forests of Vrindavan, Western Bank of the Jamuna. It's a compilation of, my humble self. I mean, there are other godbrothers who would have been better to do this than me, but I was in Vrindavan during the pandemic. Usually, a sannyasi could only stay in one place 3 days. A rolling stone gathers no moss. So since I took sannyas in 1979, I tried the best of my ability to just stay in one place for 3 days. You can imagine how many different beds I've slept in and how many showers I've taken here and there and how many streets I walked on and how the weather, but I relished it. But I was in Vrindavan just for a couple of days. I was going to fly to China when, the government closed all the airports. You couldn't go in or out. COVID started. What am I going to do? I was always on the move. So the apartment was from here to the end of this red couch here. I'd walk back and forth. There was this big bookcase of books. So, okay, Krishna, Radharani, you slammed the door in my face, so I'll stay here. So I started reading all those books. But as devotees, we're meant to share our good fortune with others. So I thought devotees don't always have time to read these books, or maybe even the interest. So let me read and share. So we started lectures on the subject matter of Vrindavan. Even to this day, every Friday, we upload a class to my YouTube channel. And we've uploaded 465 classes about Braj in the past 4 years, and I've still got a way to go on my YouTube channel. I think yesterday was about stimulation for ecstatic love. How important is dancing in Vrindavan and the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya? That was the last lecture. Every Friday it goes up to my YouTube channel. So my disciples took the first of those series, about 20 lectures, and they compiled this book. I say series because it's called The Traveling Monk in Sacred Places. There'll be lots of lectures or lots of books to come. So this is the first, and this is like, if you go to Vrindavan and you need a guide, this is a parikrama guide. This is like, it's a parikrama, a guidebook for Vrindavan. It describes the west, all the holy places that take place in the forests on the western. There's so many pastimes. Krishna and Balaram's pastimes, Radha and Krishna's pastimes, pastimes of the desire trees, pastimes of great acharyas or saints who've lived in Vrindavan. We go into great depth and great detail about each leela, the meaning of the leela, how it was performed, who performed it, what clothes they wore, what was their mood with Krishna, It's just real nectar. It's not me, I'm just the mouthpiece for, I had the great privilege, the mouthpiece for Vrindavan. So if you're looking for a parikrama guide, I recommend this one because I've researched it. There's lots of quotes in Sanskrit, etc. Lots of prayers by different Vaishnava poets through the centuries. Surdas, I quote Surdas all the time. Mirabai, so much. And there's beautiful photographs. We have our Ananta Vrindavan, and he's done many photographs, so you can see, and you really capture the mood of Vrindavan. The quote on the back is by Krishna. He says, "My dear Father, our home is not in the cities or towns or villages. Being forest dwellers, we always live in the forest and on the hills." Bhagavatam 10, 24:24. So and there's also philosophy entwined in here to understand those pastimes from the point of view from Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, Srila Prabhupada. So we brought 100 copies of this. It's hot off the press. Here I am hugging a desire tree in Vrindavan. So it's a really nice book. And if you can't get to Vrindavan, then you can read this book and you'll be in Vrindavan. Because Shravanam, Kirtanam brings Krishna Smaranam. If we hear and chant about Krishna, then our mind is filled with Krishna. And if we hear and chant about Vrindavan, we're in Vrindavan. We're actually in Vrindavan. So in the privacy of your home, you can explore that divine abode through this book. And yeah, if you want to take a book today, this is the environmental page. It's green. Make Vrindavan green again. I'm actually working in many projects with different institutions to clean up Vrindavan, clean up the Jamuna, save the old buildings so they don't tear them down, so like that. So I'd be very happy to sign it and give a little dedication and a date like that, so you can remember this little lecture we gave and how important is Shri Vrindavan Dham to all of our hearts. So, Rasika, where will I sit? Yeah, you can. This is my secretary, Rasika. She's arranging this tour for me in South India. Please give her a big round of applause.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj will be sitting next to Prabhupada there in a small chair, and we'll form a line. And on this side, we will be having the books. So we request you to come here, make a payment, get the book, and then you can go and stand in line and Maharaj will sign the book for you. And as Maharaj said, in each book, we have kept a post-it note, so you can write your name clearly in capital letters so that Maharaj can write the book, write your name in that book, dedicating the book to you. Thank you.
I want to say that, we're not here to make money. That's not what sannyasi does, but we're just here to share mercy. We're basically just covering the costs of printing the books and making no profit. It's a really nice book. There's that saying, coffee table book. It's probably not the best analogy. But it's done very nicely, and why not? Because Vrindavan's so special, the words of our acharyas are so special, it should be presented in a first-class way. Just like when my humble service of spreading Krishna consciousness around the world is to produce these big events, these large festivals in different parts of the world. We call it the Festival of India. It's really the festival of the spiritual world, but everything's first class, very professional, very colorful. We have, devotees from different parts of the world who are dancers and actors, like they're teachers like that. So they perform on the stage, first-class costumes. We have beautiful tents. We have first-class prasadam. So when people come to the festival, we average at our festivals in Europe during the summer 5,000 people every night on the Baltic Sea coast for 32 years, 2 months of the year, 5,000 to 10,000 people every night. It's not a devotee festival. It's for the people. They come and they walk away with their Vrindavan experience, and they're so impressed. Many of them walk away with Bhagavad Gita. Most of them take these big bags of prasadam, and we give saris for free. We have, each summer we get 30,000 saris. They're donated, of course, from different temples in India. And we give to any lady who comes and wants the Vrindavan experience, our girls dress them in a sari. And they say you can keep it. And we put the gopi dots on their faces. Sometimes I'm walking around, I need some service done for the festival. I'll say, Prabhu, could you help clean the kitchen? I realize it's a guest because the lady's wearing a sari. And nice devotional songs, and we have 300 devotees. So like this, Krishna consciousness should always be presented in a very high-class way so people can understand the superiority of the spiritual world. So that's why the book's a little expensive. It deserves it because we're presenting the best of all cultures, the best of all traditions by the grace of Srila Prabhupada. So wherever I'm going to sit, Someone gave me this pen on the airplane. It says, well, it doesn't say, but it's a, what do they call it? It's a Mont Blanc. A Mont Blanc? Mont Blanc. It's a really high-class pen. I said, no, I'm a sannyasi. He said, take it. I know you're signing your books. I saw you at the temple the other day. You're signing. So whatever we get, we use it in the service of Krishna. This pen is hungry to write a nice dedication. Thank you so much, Prabhus, for attending today. I'm very, very grateful and happy to share what is most dear to us, Srila Prabhupada and Sri Vrindavan Dham. Hare Krishna.
Indradyumna Maharaj, very nice to hear your lecture. Nice to see you again. Hari Hari Bol, Hari Hari Bol. We have a very nice incident. Maharajji came to our house in London, and it's a very posh Mayfair society, and we Krishna conscious people just go into the house and come out. Maharajji decided, let's do the parikrama of the Mayfair. And we have hundreds of devotees. We started walking.
We did. Yeah.
We started walking and chanting. Maharajji keep coming to me. Are you comfortable? Are you comfortable? I said, no, Maharaj. Let's keep chanting loudly. What a day. Maharaj, very most welcome to Bombay.
Mr. Agarwal, let me say, this was the most posh part of London. I mean, it's where kings and queens and ministers and government officials have their residence there. And Mr. Agarwal lives there. He's a successful businessman who really helps our movement in so many ways, especially in London. He's a lover of Radha Ishwara. And to that point, they'd never done a Harinam Sankirtan in that district. It was his idea to take the Hare Krishna movement to all those big whips there, and he led the kirtan. I wasn't in front. He was walking in front, like, very proud of Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. His chest was like, and all his friends and business associates are looking out the window. Mr. Agarwal, what's going on? Hare Krishna. And they'd wave back, and some of them came out and embraced him. It was a transcendental experience. It was amazing. He was the leader of the Sankirtan in one of the most important cities in the world, most important places of the world. That he took us back to his home, beautiful home. He's always hosting devotees. We had a wonderful program. He's elderly, like me, but we were dancing like 16-year-old boys together. And then we had this feast, and it was literally out of this world. So it's the second time I was there, and I just love being with Mr. Agarwal. I love his home. I love his wife and his family, and I'm just shocked to see you here. Thank you so much for coming to my little program, Mr. Agarwal.
Maharajji's kirtan, nobody can match.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.